So I finally unlocked the Peacekeeper. I remember what it was like to use this weapon. That's right. For those of you that don't know, I've actually been playing Call of Duty for an incredibly long time. I started back in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and I've been playing Call of Duty every year since. And when I go back to the combat record in Black Ops 2, the Peacekeeper is my #1 used weapon. Even though it was the first ever DLC weapon, I spent the most time using that weapon among all the weapons in the entire game. And a few months back, I even did the evolution of certain weapons in the Black Ops series on the channel. And the #1 comment I received after my evolution of rifles videos is everyone saying that I forgot the Peacekeeper from Black Ops 2. So to follow up that video, I even did a Peacekeeper versus Peacekeeper video where I compared the Black Ops 2 SMG Peacekeeper versus the Mark II Peacekeeper that was in Black Ops 3. Both DLC weapons. So as you can imagine, I was more than excited to actually get my hands on the Peacekeeper in Black Ops 4. Unfortunately, it took a lot of tiers and a lot of reserves to get it, but I held strong, didn't spend any money, and I finally lucked out. And in my first match without any attachments, I ended up going 34-2, so I was thinking that this weapon is a little bit overpowered. But after playing with it a little bit more and unlocking the various attachments, I think it's right up there with the KN and the Maddox, which basically means it's top tier but not overpowered. So my best class setup for the Peacekeeper is going to be stock hybrid mags rapid fire with flak jacket, gung ho, and dead silence. And obviously if you're going to be using scavenger, you can go ahead and drop flak jacket, and then you end up with one pick 10 slot left over, which you can either use for an optic or a launcher, or drop one of the other perks to equip another attachment. So for the rest of the video, I'm going to focus on how to use this best class setup. A lot of times you're just going to get the best class setup and then see some gameplay. I'm actually going to walk you through my thought process so you can become better at Call of Duty. So regardless if you just took the screenshots of my best class setups and you're going to dip out, or you actually want to improve at Call of Duty, please remember to hit that like button if you do enjoy the video in any way. And let's see how fast we can get this video over 1,000 likes. If we can get it to 1,000 likes within the first 12 hours, I'm going to start working on my video ranking all the rifles from worst to best in Black Ops 4. Also, if you're someone looking to improve at Call of Duty and you'd like to find your way back to the channel, make sure you hit that red subscribe button, turning it to gray, and make sure you have those notifications on by ringing that bell. And so far, it looks like we're off to a good start. Obviously, in that first engagement where I missed the guy, I didn't practice that proper trigger discipline like I showed in this one. And another term for that technique is usually called burst firing. And what you do in those scenarios is you'll release the trigger for a short period of time, fire a certain number of bullets, release the trigger again, and then go ahead and pull the trigger. And you kind of repeat that cycle, and that allows you to be as accurate as possible. And that's pretty much for every single Call of Duty. The nice thing with Black Ops 4 is there's a thing called predictive recoil. So every time you release that trigger and pull the trigger again, you restart the recoil pattern. That is the same pattern every single time. So right now, if you look at the mini-map, you know that all the enemies are on the west side of the map. So I'm just kind of predicting that they're going to be coming in and flooding through this left side. And it turns out that there's a couple of them on the bridge. It looks like my teammates are locked up in this building. And since they left that back area pretty far open, the enemies could be on the other side as well. Come around, able to take this guy out. And then I could see that there's people spawning by the water tower. So I'm just kind of pre-aiming as this guy comes around. A nice, easy kill. Looks like most of them are spawning at the church. You can see where they're at on the mini-map. I quick peek that area because I know there's someone coming up on this left side. And you see how I'm kind of backing up, getting an angle where it's going to be very hard for them to hit me and pretty easy for me to hit them. So one thing I did want to point out is because a lot of times people don't take that into consideration, but depending on what map you play, you could always adjust your score streaks to benefit you depending on how the map layout is. So as you're seeing on this map, as well as you'll see in the next gameplay on Slums, the aerial streaks are great. So that's going to be the Thresher, the Attack Chopper, Sniper's Nest, and the Gunship. All those are going to be great streaks for those maps because the way they're laid out, a lot of time they're going to lose spawn protection before they're able to get to cover. So that's just kills after kills after kills. So right there, I waited a quick second to see if the blip was going to move, and it turned out that there was a second guy that actually had Ghost on. That's why you didn't see him when the UAV passed. And now I know that the guy's in the room. I'm going to go ahead and come around. I can see that this other guy is kind of creeping around. I want to see if I can get a good angle. He ends up running out. I'm able to take him out. Strike team's coming through. I'm already on that ruthless streak. coming through the building here. I can't really get a good angle. I try to land a few shots there. The guy does come out and my strike team end up taking him out. The guy actually had barbed wire on both sides, initially at that front entrance, and then he ended up putting more barbed wire on this side entrance, so it kind of limits the angles you can actually push in. So right now you can see that a lot of my teammates are behind me or on the far side of the map. I can see that this guy's coming around. I just pre-aim, strafe, take the guy out, and I get that right hand advantage. In case you guys didn't know, when you do peek, you tend to get a right hand advantage, and that's primarily because of how the character models work. When you aim down sight, you're putting the butt of the weapon into your right shoulder, so even though when you aim down sight it looks like it's directly in front of you, it's actually on the right side of your body. So you can see how quickly the match gets out of hand. Once you start calling in streaks, you're getting those UAVs passing. A lot of times the enemies have to flood in because you got those aerial streaks. The guy comes flooding around the corner. I'm pre-aiming, ready for him. He jumps out in front of me, tries to land a couple shots, which he does, but I'm able to clean him up. I was predicting that the guy was going to come through. You saw me pre-aiming that doorway. As the guy ran out, all I had to do was pull the trigger, and he was down pretty quickly. So right now, take a look at the minimap. You're going to see one of my teammates spawns in right behind me, but also that tells me that the other areas of the map are pretty crowded with enemies. And then you can see one of the enemies spawns in down on the lower side. Now I'm going to go ahead and push through with my teammate. You can see another one of my teammates spawn right next to me. That's because this guy's blocking the spawn. Someone's probably at the water tower, so we got to be aware of that. Because that area of the map is blocked, they're not able to spawn there. And then there's probably still people on the lower side and by the church. So that means there's like one enemy on each part of the map. You got a lot of my teammates in one general area. So that's sometimes funny, is a lot of times people don't realize is how good you can get at guessing where enemies are going to be based off knowing where people are supposed to spawn and where they actually spawn. Obviously that was a clear indication that there was someone on the lower end. Then they end up popping up on the UAV, which made my job a lot easier. So the reason why I want to include this match along with Slums is because I actually go flawless in this gameplay. I go 52-0. And then you're going to see that I go on an incredibly long streak. And when you combine both of the matches together, I end up going on about 100+ streak between the two TDM matches before I finally get a death. So obviously we're going to transition to the second gameplay, but I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Do you think the Peacekeeper is overpowered in its current state? It's already been nerfed once. They went ahead and reduced the damage ranges at which it drops off. Or do you agree it's just top tier like the KN and the Maddox? So now let's see how long I can go on a streak before I end up dying. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and push up this right side. I go ahead and kind of drift over to this left side. So as people come out, I can get an easy kill. Saw my teammates pushing up that right side. I can see that they're kind of covering their right side and keep dying. And now I have my teammate kind of looking at mid and I'm watching the right side. As the guy comes out, you can see how fast it can melt in certain scenarios. You just got to hit all those shots. And I've talked about it plenty of times. Whoever locks down this middle section is who wins the match. Pretty much all you have to do is kind of focus on where the enemies are coming from. Once the spawns flip, you change to the other side and then pretty much just lock down the area. I kind of peek out. I see my teammates pushing around the right side. I honestly couldn't even see the guy until he hit me, and then I backed off because I wasn't going to win that gunfight. He'd already hit me 2 or 3 times. And odds are, unless I just get lucky, I'm going to lose that gunfight. So if you look at the mini map, this is where it gets tricky. You're going to see one of my teammates spawn at the middle of the map. That means the enemies are coming from both sides of the map, and you got to be aware of that. So that means you have a split spawn. There's probably 3 on each side of the map, so you got to be aware of that. As you push out, you're going to see what kind of kills you can get. I go ahead and push through so I can make sure that we have the right spawn. That guy ended up trading paths with my teammates, take him out, and now I've gone ahead and fixed the spawns. These are things you have to do. If your teammates aren't going to do it, you got to take that initiative. You can see that my teammate just spawned on me, and unfortunately as a result of me securing those spawns, my teammates weren't able to hold down that middle section. It looks like we're able to push up now. Looks like they were able to take out a few people. I wait for that UAV to pass, and now I feel confident I could push to the middle of the map. There are a lot of them in this room, so I'm just kind of spraying and praying, not really looking at anyone in particular. It looks like there's a lot of them. This guy creeped out, ended up jump shotting and taking him out. Looks like we still got secure spawns on this side, so I kind of approach it back to middle. I don't know what's going on in that room, but there are a lot of them in there. But I'm still kind of just paying attention to what's going on. My teammates are kind of funneling around there and getting some kills. And once that entire room has been cleared out, I can see someone's creeping up around this left side. So all I'm doing is pre-aiming, waiting for that guy to come out, and then I'm able to shoot him as he comes around the corner. Right now, it looks like all the teammates are behind me, so now the spawns are on the opposite side. So I'm able to turn around and take the guy out. Even though that guy with the melee weapon probably has Ghost, I'm predicting where their movements are coming from. It looks like a few enemies ran through that building, so they're starting to flank around. I wait for that UAV to pass, and then I can actually take them out from behind. They are in engagements with my teammates coming out of spawn and take them out. So now pretty much all the enemies should be coming directly in front of me. And I know there's a few people out there probably saying, man, this is a pretty easy lobby, but a lot of times you can make a lobby look a lot easier than it actually is just by positioning yourself the right way. for a lot of these gunfights, I land the first shot. When I do not land the first shot, I get out of there, and I try to play this situation as smart as possible so I can make sure I get my streaks. You can see I've already gone ahead and cycled my streaks on a regular basis. And once you start getting those streaks going, it changes the behavior of your enemies. Right here, I've been able to get another Thresher. Then that changed me to another strike team. My strike team is starting to get killed, so eventually I'll go ahead and call the strike team in. But I'm positioning myself, maneuvering around the map to make sure I limit those deaths as much as possible. And I think one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make is they do not realize how important the minimap is. I've done a couple videos on how important the minimap is. So if you find yourself dying a lot or getting shot in the back a lot, what I recommend doing is recording your own gameplay. You could either do it through PlayStation or Xbox, however you're going to do it, and rewatch it and spend 90% of your time just staring at the minimap and seeing how you would make decisions differently, and if maybe you could have predicted enemies' behavior based off looking at the minimap. And I can guarantee you, if you're looking at it as closely as I am, you're going to reduce a lot of those deaths. You can see right here, I can see the behavior of these enemies. It looks like they're pushing away from me, so I go ahead and peek out, get a quick gun kill. There's another one creeping up. Decide if I'm going to go ahead and engage that. He ended up luckily having a melee weapon. I was backing up, avoided that completely. There are more coming through this section. I absolutely laser that guy. And that's another Relentless. I think I ended the previous match like on a 22 or a 23. So that's like a 43 gun streak back to back. And that's one of the biggest things I wish they would have in a Treyarch game is a callable nuke, because then I probably wouldn't run this streak setup. I'd probably just run the UAV encounter and probably an advanced UAV if it was in the game, or some kind of hater, because that allows you to go for those streaks. Fortunately, that's not the case. I don't get excited about a medal. All I do is try and get as many kills as possible. And as you can see with this streak setup, it's very effective. So you can see how I continue to rotate. I'm paying attention to that mini-map. I'm focusing on where my teammates are, kind of pushing in. And I can see I got to rotate back. A lot of the enemies should be coming out of the spawn in front of me. I kind of pre-aimed that really quick, expecting someone to be there. And I barely mistimed that. It was almost perfect. Luckily, the strike team takes that guy out. And now we have the strike team running around the map, going ham. And these people are just trying to get out of spawn. A lot of times this is what ends up happening in the lobbies if you get those streaks right away. You can see I already have another strike team on standby. And another thing I will point out about spawns flipping is right now you can see that all my teammates push heavily in the spawns. And the main reason for that is because of the streaks. They got to go ahead and try and push into the spawn and try and get a kill before the streaks get the kill. And the other part of that is because the map control is so strong, they don't end up stopping at the middle of the map where they would normally stop and run into an enemy. And they're able to just keep pushing. And unfortunately, most people don't know any better that they should probably post up in a particular area, control the spawn, so they just keep running through. And unfortunately, that's what happens when you call in those types of streaks. Right here is where I do get my one and only death, and it's because I ego challenged this guy, didn't burst control, and that ends up being the end of the streak. I ended up going 52-0, 49-1. So that's how the 101 streak ended. If you did enjoy the video or thought it was helpful in any way, please remember to hit that like button. And if you're brand new around here and stuck it out to this part of the video, you probably enjoyed something about the content. So hopefully you can go ahead and hit that red subscribe button, turn it into gray, and turn on notifications by ringing that bell. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for me. So if you can help me get there, I'd be very appreciative of that. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.